What is perfectionism and how might it impact a founder on their journey?
Yeah, so I think that there's an ambiguity in how we use the term perfectionism. I think there are two very different kinds. There's the kind of perfectionism we usually refer to, which is, in my mind and based on a lot of the research I've done, a kind of like fake perfectionism, in the sense that really it almost inevitably turns out to be some kind of an avoidance strategy, or a kind of like anxiety driven or fear driven or even just kind of inertia driven, like wheel spinning, that takes the place of the more scary, difficult, vulnerable work of growth. So when you kind of nitpick at the logo, I mean, I still do this all the time, knowing what I do and being a professional psychologist, so it's not like anybody's immune, but kind of nitpicking and wanting to get the document just right, or futzing with the same sentence for 10 minutes before you send out the email, at the cost of actually making progress or kind of getting the feedback that's going to help you learn and iterate on your idea, or on your hypothesis. And I think at the same time, I think it's born of a really positive impulse that we can really harness, which is that you really, really want to succeed. You really want to do a great job. You're here because you're really ambitious, right? And I think there's a way to actually harness that underlying drive, but in a way that's more genuine and in a way that's kind of more honest, by reframing what we're perfectionistic about, so that it's actually the goal, right? It's actually, I'm a perfectionist about actually learning what I need to learn in order to change the world, or in order to, insert kind of mission here, right? And what that means is I need to just send out a whole bunch of quick and dirty emails where there's going to be a bunch of typos. Like, that's actually what it means to be truly, perfectionistic in the sense of ambitious about this, right? Where it just kind of totally shifts your orientation, and it allows you to distinguish between, like, what's my standard here? Like, is it going to help my goal if I get this sentence, perfectly grammatical? Or is that actually just a distraction from really getting the work done, and from really, and the same thing, like being a perfectionist about caring for your own, like, mental health and for your own well-being, because you need that, like, that's going to be the foundation on which you succeed and build your company. So, like, I'm going to stop working right now because I'm being a perfectionist about my own well-being, that kind of thing.
And so in order to identify what you should be a perfectionist about, is it essential that you've already set your goals and you have your your core values at heart?
Good question. I would say if you haven't, then maybe that can be the next step in your perfectionistic, kind of harnessing, because you're going to need to know your goal at some level, right? And it can vary, like at what level or how specifically you need to set like your goal might just be pay attention to this talk and learn what I can, right? Because that's going to help you to kind of get to the next step, or kind of clarify what you want your mission to be in the first place, right? But whatever your goals, like, you want to be setting them consciously, and you want to set them in the context of, like, your overall life and, whatever it is you already know, but also what you need to know about your values, your plan, kind of everything in between.
Perfect. Thanks, Gina.
Yeah, of course.
On perfectionism, do you want to add any tips or tricks to this? Or
I mean, lots, but let me think if there are any 2-minute ones. So I would say, I think partly this is where kind of stress tolerance skills will come in, because sometimes being the kind of real and not the pretend kind of perfectionist requires tolerating a lot of uncertainty and ambiguity and, like, imperfection at a superficial level, in the sense that, like, your MVP is not going to be pretty, right? Or your initial messaging to customers, like, it's going to have a bunch of bugs and it's going to have a bunch of problems with it, and, like, you need to send it out at that point if you're actually going to learn what you need to learn, right? So I would say kind of being, like, really embracing the experience of that discomfort, and, like, using mindfulness skills, using, like, deep breathing, using kind of just awareness of the present moment, anchoring yourself. A lot of the tools I'll talk about in other modules, but that also, like, exist out in culture to kind of help you embrace and tolerate the discomfort, and kind of lean into the discomfort instead of like, you know, thinking that it's an error signal that you have to bring back.
Thanks, Gina.